Hello. Welcome. Welcome to door 6, the violet door. All right. We got some people hopping in the Zoom room. If you want to hop in the Zoom room too, there's a link. I'll pop the link in the chat. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Hi. How are we doing? Let us know in the chat. Thank you for joining in the Zoom. Dana, Gabriel, Janine, Michelle, Ness, welcome. Okay. All right. Well, let's get started. All right, so we have been on this journey through the 13 doors, and it's a guided pilgrimage, I guess, through the architecture of not only the 64 archetypes, but like you as a conscious creator. So while we may speak about gene keys, about human design, about astrology, about the archetypes, this is really about understanding yourself, understanding the living matrix that you're part of, and how to become a conscious creator. So this is a 13-week journey, a 13-door journey. So we are embodying that conscious creator that we are. So as we walk the doors, we're going to explore our own design, our own chakras, our own bodies, our own minds. We'll learn how to be a match, hold the pose, and stay the course. If you're wanting to create Shambhala or heaven on earth for yourselves, for your fellow men and women, then this is a great way to put focused attention on that. And so we meet just once a week on Mondays. And every Monday, I bring through a different concept. We open a door, and behind that door, we focus on the theme of that door. So let's look at this. This is how we began the journey. So this was the portal that we walked through. And behind that door was a hallway of doors. And since we are going through 13 weeks, we have been opening different doors. Now we're on week 6. So this is the 6th door that we've gone through together. And this happens to be the violet door. And let me yeah, the violet door is going to be about vision, understanding, discernment, conceptualization. The color violet is about clarity, insight, synthesis. It can be um, connected to the third eye, the Ajna center. So the third eye, as it is a chakra or an energetic center, it's connected to our inner vision, our inner knowing, the seat of vision. The third eye helps us envision things, see things. It's an inner sight. And in human design, the Ajna Center is the conceptualization center. This is where we're getting insights, ideas, things from the crown chakra, from the divine, and we are mulling it over. We're figuring out, oh, what's here? What is this about? We're conceptualizing things. This is also where we have our brain balance. So we're balancing our left and right hemispheres of our brain as well. And through this door, the embodiment practice here is to see with our inner eye. Never mind what we're seeing externally, that is important data and information. But if you're manifesting or if you're trying to receive insight and information, we want to go within. We want to see what's inside of ourselves, to see what our inner guidance is sharing with us. And now, some people, they don't see anything with their inner eyes. When we're talking about the clairs, clairvoyance is the ability of clear seeing, clear voyance, seeing, clear seeing. And when you're tapping into your clairvoyant senses, you are receiving insights through visions, through visuals, through colors, through impressions. Some people are more clear cognizant, which means you're clear knowing. It just kind of pops in and you're like, oh, it's this. It's not like this pattern recognition thing where you're like, oh, let me put together this image and that image and all these abstract images, and then this is what it means. Some people just know. And you can have multiple clairs, right? We can have all of the clairs. And today we're going to focus on this clear vision because the more clear you can get with what you are envisioning for yourself, what you're creating, the easier it is to manifest it. Some of us work better when we are very detailed in what we're wanting to create. Like we'll create a vision board and we'll stick all the things up and then we'll manifest those things. Other people are focused on a feeling. This is what I want to feel. You're going to tune in and feel into what what's best for you, what process is best for you for manifesting. My daughter just like ran over here and like pressed the easy button. That was easy. That was easy. It can be really easy. We just have to get clear on what we're wanting to manifest, or we have to get clear in what we're partnering with the divine. What are they asking of us? What are they sharing with us? They, meaning God, source, our inner guidance. What is being shared with our ego, our person that we are inhabiting right now, right? Because right now I'm playing the character of Ashley, but when I die, that character of Ashley is dead. I get to take a bow and be like, "Oh, yes, this is the person that I played, that I acted." And we go back into you know, our soul thread or our soul or the fractal or the oneness. So, anyways, as we are getting clearer and clearer, yeah, and I'm on a call right now, okay? Like come here. You say hi. Hi. Hello. There's a bunch of people that I'm talking to today, and we're talking about our inner vision or our third eye. You probably don't care about that. Yeah, bye. Give me some time and then we'll play later, okay? All right. So, let's just talk a little bit about the Violet Door before we dig into it. I do want to share about the Ajna Center and the archetypes that live there as well, because it would be beneficial to be able to feel into, what do I have activated here in this center? What archetypes are my allies? What am I already working with? So the Violet Door it's going to open the chamber of the mind. And I connected the Violet Door to light. Remember, we were in the blue door, which was about the throat, and we went into ether, we went into sound. Now we're going to go into light. And I don't know if any of you have ever closed your eyes before and you've seen like little light particles or even like waves of light or portals of light in your third eye, like when you go in. Can you see light? Have you seen light? I'm curious to see, has that happened to you before? Have you seen that? Have you seen any pictures or images? Are you clairvoyant in any way? Do you see images in your mind? If I told you to imagine, I always use the same one, a red balloon. Can you imagine a red balloon in your mind? If I said, make a red balloon in your mind, can you do that? Yes? Yeah, you're using your imagination. You know, when you like are staring at a blank page and you're gonna draw something, do you ever get like, oh, the idea of I'm gonna draw a face, I'm gonna draw a present, I'm gonna draw, like the idea just pops in your head? and then you start developing it, right? You're using your imagination. Some people don't have the ability to see images and their brain works differently and they're just thinking. But I'm speaking to you that can imagine, that you have the imagination, and you can see. So here are that light gets grounded into form. We start to see images, and we can ask a question, and that question can give us an answer through our clear vision, right? Sometimes healing comes in the form of these waves. You can imagine that violet light in your third eye. You can imagine that golden light just pouring over your whole body. What you are imagining is real. You're working with the form of energy. You're working with energy. And it may not have gotten to the physical form yet where you're seeing it in your reality, but it is real. It is happening. Just like I said last door, abracadabra. As I create, as I speak, I create, right? And so as you're working, as you're seeing, and as you're focusing on this vision, you're bringing it into form. The more you are entertaining it, identifying with it, putting energy towards it, the more it's going to start showing up in your world. And this is you becoming a creator. So if you are envisioning Shambhala for yourself, heaven on earth for yourself, you're going to get insights and impressions for how you can be the revolutionary, you can be the visionary, you can be the one that's creating this for you, for others. So this purple door, this violet door, it's this threshold between the unseen and the known. And this is where our divine intelligence drops down and we're starting to understand it, conceptualize it. And our imagination now becomes like something that we are utilizing as sacred architects. It's our mind is sacred architecture, and our mind is not the master, it's a tool. Our imagination is a tool. And we are vessels for the divine, vessels for creativity, vessels for ideas, right? Ideas. So we have the crown, we have the ajna, we have the third eye. In human design, that the crown center is where we get ideas and these impressions, and they come down and they're conceptualized in the ajna, and then they drop down into the throat for expression. Now, next week we're going to be going into the magenta door, and that one will be around the crown. And I'm going to talk about creativity in the field of ideas and inspiration and how we can partner with these ideas. We can become the visionary that's seeing what's to come, and then we're going to become the architect that's creating here on earth. It's not enough to just see it. We have to be a match for it, right? Be a match, hold the pose, stay the course. That's how we consistently channel the reality through. So every idea, every vision, every realization is a ray of light refracted through the prism of your consciousness. So through this portal, through the violet portal, you're going to remember that your mind is this what is that? Temple of imagination. It's not a cage. It's a tool. We're going to work with it. This is the seed of conceptualization. We're going to have questions. They're going to become insight. We're going to get answers. We're going to transform confusion and clarity, opinion into omniscience, restlessness into revelation. So we're still in Scorpio season, and we're going to use this season, this energy to look below appearances, to perceive what's hidden underneath. So we want to trust our inner vision. We want to open our mind to new understanding. We want to let divine intelligence flow through us. So in the theme of Shambhala, we're conscious creators. I've been saying, oh, you're a conscious creator. And Shambhala is what you're creating as a conscious creator. Or you're creating hell. I mean, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, whatever you're interested in doing. No judgment. I'm just don't think I want to be part of your reality if it's all destruction and hell and brimfire and all that stuff. Like that's not what I'm in alignment with. So that's not what I'm partnering with or calling into my reality. Now, is destruction part of creation? Yeah, some things have to go for other things to bloom. But are we doing it with love? if we're doing it with love, then all good on the united front. Okay. I guess there is a little bit of judgment in that, but you know, it is what it is. Okay. We'll be talking more about that in the black door and in the white door. Okay, so let's go through the door. So as we are moving forward together, let me just get my notes so I can stay on track. Be very lovely. Open throat, y'all, open throat. Let's see what pops in and just talk about all that. We'll have discernment. And discernment is another thing that is inside the violet door. Like when you're in your third eye, you have to have discernment. So, yeah, mental alchemy is present here. How to move from these states of confusion or obsession or victimization or whatever it is that is the pulse, the frequency of your mind. We want to transmute it. We want to elevate it. We want to get as close to divine mind as possible. Um, Not that we can't learn anything from those shadow frequencies. We love the shadow frequencies because they have information, they have wisdom, and they're where the alchemy happens, Shadow Gift City, right? So the invitation here as we step through this violet door is we want to become a conscious perceiver. So we want to see through illusion into understanding, and we want to trust that every thought, every vision, every idea, it has a place in the grand design. I'm going to spend some time during this call talking about the different archetypes that live in the Ajna hub. And they're all amazing, by the way. And particularly when we get to the alchemist is going to get a wide variety of images. And sometimes they're dark, and sometimes it does need transmutation. Sometimes we have to step into the darkness to be able to bring the light there to see, right? We want to turn obscurity, the 11, into light. We want to illuminate things. We want to see things for what they are. And we don't want to brush things aside because it's not how we want to see it or what we want to see. We want to be open to different perceptions. 17. I've already mentioned the 47, the 11, the 17. We're going to get downloads. We're going to get insights. We're going to get epiphanies. But in order for us to have those 43, we are going to need to be open vessels and channels. We don't just want to tune our radio station to one station. We want to have all of the radio stations. We want to be able to have that insight, have the information pour in, and to discern what's relevant for what at what time. Oh, I got to turn into 97.3 right now because that one is aligned with what I'm wanting to create, manifest, what question I have. And to stay focused on that and not get distracted by the other radio stations or the noise that's coming through because we want to be a clear channel. We want to hear the guidance that's answering that question because there's other ones that are answering questions, but if we're listening to those, they may not even be relevant for what we're asking or what we're trying to create. So anyways, when you step through this door, you're going to remember that vision is going to precede creation. We have to have an idea of what we're creating before we create it. There's always an intention. An imagination, it's sacred. It's sacred. No matter what, the wildest imagination, sacred. Who else is going to think out about that? Who else is going to imagine that? You are literally creating seeds in the field of ideas. You're being inspiration. And you'll have to discern, am I the creator of this idea? Or is it just entertaining to me? And I'm putting it in the ethers and someone else will be like, oh yes, I'm going to take that one. That's a gem. I'm going to create it. Are we here to be the creator or to be the engager? Like, oh, I just wish somebody would create that so that I can experience that. I don't want to create it, but I want to experience it, right? Or are we just like planting seeds and like, oh, yes, seeds, 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 seeds. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. And then just letting it go and letting someone else grab it. That's the discernment. Have you ever started? Okay, let's move on. Let's get through the door. Ashley. Ashley has so many thoughts and ideas with her open ajna. So your mind is not your master. It's just a tool. And we're just utilizing the impressions and we're deciding if we identify with it or not, or if it excites us or not. You can tell when I get excited about something that pops into my head, I want to go. And I have a little bit of that squirrel energy where I'm like, oh yeah, side quest. This, pull this down. I'm literally pulling things down. Sometimes I'm going in a straight line. Most of the times I'm pulling things from the side and saying, yep, that resonates. That's the same. That's a frequency match. Okay, pull it in, put it in the pot, stir it up. Here you go. Sip on this. So let's enter the door. Hello. Going through the door. Our mind is a portal. It's an instrument for discerning, for receiving, for perceiving the divine plan. So let's tap into that divine plan. Okay. All right. So welcome. We have entered that violet door. Woo! And like I said, energy moves within our body graph from the crown, because the crown is a pressure center, to the ajna, to the throat. So we're receiving pressure, we're conceptualizing whatever came through, whatever we're filtering out, and then it reaches the throat for expression, for communication, right? We may get an insight, an answer. We want to share that stroke of genius or that stroke of freak. We want to share it. We want to share our perception. We want to share our opinion. We want to share our story. So the shadow of the ajna or the third eye is overthinking, anxiety, addiction to answers. We can also have obscurity here where we're not seeing or where what we're only allowing love and light to come through or darkness to come through. We're like, we have a preference. And in this place, we want to try not to have a preference. We don't want to attach emotion to what we're seeing, what we're perceiving. We want to just receive it because it's data, it's information. Just like in the emotional center, it's information. We may identify with it more than another. We may feel pulled into it and it may elicit a response from us, but that's still just data. It's still telling us how we relate to that thing, how we have received or responded to whatever we've interacted with. So the same thing, like we're receiving, and instead of like a really great way to look at the insights, the thoughts, the things that are coming into your ajna, your third eye, is when something comes in, instead of like going straight to I don't like it or I like it or oh that's weird or oh that's dark or just be like, oh, interesting. And that is almost like the same as the 63rd archetype, where it goes from doubt to inquiry to truth. If you want to reach for truth, you're going to have to be like, that's interesting. Because in interesting, it's kind of open still, right? Oh, that's dark. You can tell, like, oh, that's dark. Like, judgment, closed down. Not going to receive any more of that. Right? When we're excited about things, yeah, we go wide open. We're like, oh, that's so cool. And then it just comes in. But as long as we can stay neutral, we're not obscuring the data that's coming in. We're like, oh, that's interesting. And then can you show me more? Or what does that mean? Like we're asking questions, we're getting curious. And so we're receiving more. And sometimes like if I'm if I tune in right now, I see a frog and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I hear purification. And then what more? And then I'm just seeing like a refinement from my throat down into my heart, like a triangle. Now, I could keep going with that. I could keep seeing, like, okay, what more? What more? And in that way, it's kind of like a breadcrumb trail of what's coming in intuitively, right? And I can feel things alchemizing in my heart space. It's getting warm in my heart space. So I know that things are moving. You want movement. You want movement as you are inquiring, as you're receiving. Because if you can see, like, okay, frog dropped into Ashley's head. All right, interesting. Tell me more. And then it came down. Like we want things to move until they're done moving because it's in the movement that things start alchemizing. So as you're receiving or as you're envisioning, be like, okay, I want to be a match for Shambhala. And Shambhala for me in this moment equals this, right? When I was manifesting, creating, co-creating this house, I had to get clear on what I wanted. I didn't know I wanted this house in the beginning. I was open to different houses. And with each house, I was like, oh, I like this about that. I like this about that. I like this about that. And then this house had all the things that I liked about it. And it took, I mean, it was an interesting process to be able to get this because it was definitely a huge leap from one life to the other. It was a big leap, not this little leap. It was a big leap. I don't even know this area. I grew up in Southern California. The Oregon coast is just a place that I visited. And so, was I a match yet for the coast to receive me? No, even getting into this house, I started to feel the land and to interact with the land, and I actually got sick, and I was like, okay, what am I here to learn or heal or understand? There's stuff with the well. I need to fix the well. So with the things that we're manifesting, it's not always going to be sunshine, rainbows, amazing things. There will be transmutation that will happen in the process to become a match. What more do you have to shed, purify, let go of? Now I know that the frog, it's like speak about the purification process. As you are manifesting things, you will be asked to purify, to let go, to purify your intentions, to purify your come from, to purify yourself, to be a match. If you're saying like, I don't know what I mean, what do you guys want to manifest? What are you trying to manifest currently? You can put it in the chat. What is someone trying to manifest? What do you not have now that you're trying to come into contact with in the future? Now, we have to become a match for that thing. And if you've never had that thing before, you have no frame of reference for what it feels like to have it. If you've already had something, you can come back into the feeling of that thing and be like, oh, I remember that taste, right? If we've eaten spaghetti before, you know what spaghetti tastes like. If you've traveled to Paris before, you know what Paris feels like. But if you've never been there, you don't really know what the frequency of Paris or spaghetti or whatever feels like. So if you're trying to manifest a trip to Paris or Tuscany or somewhere that you've never been before, we're going to need to become a match for that. And we can do that through the visualization, through watching videos, through speaking to people. Life is going to bring you people that have been there too. If you're like, oh, I really want to go to Paris or Tuscany or wherever you're wanting to go, guess what? You're going to meet someone that's already been there and they hold the codes of that. You'll be surprised, like if you like, and it'll come up in the conversation, like, oh yeah, I'm planning this trip to Tuscany. Oh yeah, I went there 2 summers ago. Oh yeah, and then they explain, and then they're sharing with you a frequency. They're saying, hey, taste my memory. Oh, okay. Like we're connected. Like I feel my heart like opening and heating up, and they're offering something to us, right? And if like I'm offering something to you, like I just bought a house for those of you that are trying to buy houses, like I'm in the energy of that. That's the energy I'm also emoting, expressing as well. Like someone that is, there's boxes everywhere. Someone that's also in transition. Like I went from not having to having, but I always knew I was going to have it. And that's the kind of energy that you need to be in is holding the pose, keeping the vision of Shambhala. I think in the first one or two doors, I was speaking about that. I was saying, like the ball of light. I was like, that's the thing that you're wanting to create, to manifest. I think we're in the orange door. And then it was out in front of you, and you had to kind of like reel it in like as you were bringing in a fish or something like that. You want to hold the pose. You want to be a match for that. Hold the pose, stay the course, and keep getting closer and closer and closer and closer to it. And that's manifesting it, right? Because now it's in the physical. Now it's in the form. Um, okay. Thank you, frog. Sidetrack. But let's keep going. So, what else do I want to share? Shambhala as this bridge between the mystical and the physical. Yeah, okay. Let's get into the Ajna Center. I want to give you a little bit of practicality as well. Um, through and Aurora just went by and she hit that easy, but that was easy. It can be really easy. Easy, easy. Okay. So Let's look at these together. Okay. So in human design, in your body graph, the Ajna hub is, let me see if I have right here. It's right here in the body graph, right? So this is about vision. This is about a conceptualization. This is about balancing your brain using both the left and the right hemispheres of your brain. In this center, this is so 17 is logical circuitry. And then whoop, it goes over like this. It doesn't go straight as a channel like up. Right here in the Ajna center, boop, it like pops over. 4, logical. 17, logical. 11, abstract. Boop, 47, abstract. 24 and 43, individual. Individual. Okay, so we have individual, and we don't have any tribal circuitry here, but we have individual and both the collective circuitry. And circuitry is just how is our energy flowing? From what gate to what gate, the channels that we have, and then where do they go? We won't get too deep in that. That's not something that you have to know about for this work in the violet door, but I think it's beneficial if you wanted to go deeper into that. Okay. So in the Ajna hub, my kids have a school off today and tomorrow. So sorry for the random interruptions, inspirations, the random inspirations. She's a reflector in human design as well, so all open centers. Okay, so in the Ajna Center, we move from anxiety to awareness through the gift of thinking. This is from Integral Human Design. And like I said, the crown hub is a pressure center. It's pressure pushing down. If you don't have if you have an undefined crown, that pressure is coming externally. You're filtering stuff, it's creating pressure. This is where we have to be very mindful of, is this thought mine? Am I thinking about things that don't matter to me? Am I thinking about things that matter to other people? Am I trying to solve other people's problems? Am I thinking about things for other people? You're taking their thought wheel, hamster wheel, and you're like, hey, let me get on that wheel too. Is it our wheel to spin on? Maybe, maybe not. So in the Ajna Hub, the function here is to research, to categorize, to analyze, and investigate life. It's an awareness center. So there's a couple awareness centers in the body graph, and the splenic center and the emotional center happen to be some more of those. And if you are defined, 51% of the population is defined. It might have gone up or down. I don't know when this data was collected, but when I created this slide deck, I think it was 2021, so it could have changed by then. It brings in whatever it needs to bring in for the collective. So I don't know. I don't think there's a poll. And even where did they get these numbers anyways? How many people even knew about human design in 1987 when Ra got through all this stuff? When did we get these? Anyways, I digress. I got questions though. And so does the Ajna Center, has questions. If you have defined Ajna, you have a fixed way of thinking. And so when life gives you a problem or life gives you something, you're going to automatically go down the route of X, Y, Z. Someone will do A, B, C. Someone else will do X, Y, Z. Someone will do G, F, A. It just depends. What is your fixed way of thinking? If you are undefined or open, meaning there's no channels. The channel is what creates definition. If there's no channels connecting either the throat or the head center, then you're undefined. Then you don't have definition here. Open or completely open means nada. You have no gates defined here. There's nothing. 49% of the population, give or take. And then here, there's no consistent way of thinking, always feels uncertain in thoughts, and compensates by being overly fixed or takes in info like a sponge. It just sucks it in. It's an open center. It's where you're receiving. If you have a defined Ajna center, you're putting out the thoughts. John Martin had said, because I think he has a defined head and Ajna. I think he might be a mental projector. I don't remember. But he said it was always funny to put a thought into the field and then somebody else would like say it or pick it up, thinking it was theirs. And so when you're with people, when you're with a lot of people in a room, you're going to be able to tell, especially if you have an open center and you're starting to become aware of things, when the mind is busy. You're going to feel the mental energy. I know when I'm around people that have a defined ajna or head, uh, mostly the head and ajna configuration, I feel that pressure. And I'm so used to it being open that sometimes even when we have definition in the transits, it can be hard sometimes for me to shut off my mind. And I'm like, oh, so much pressure. I don't like this. And I have to like loosen and open and allow and begin to watch the thoughts like clouds instead of identifying with them and being like, well, you just shut up. Like, stop talking. Like, allow it to just go, to run, to flow. Have you ever felt that way about the mind? Like, oh, can you just give me a break, please? I want to sleep. The not self strategy of an open ajna is trying to convince others that you're certain and intellectually consistent, right? I'm sure. I know. Here's the answer. You're the convincing others that you're certain. There's no certainty in an undefined ajna because it's not consistent. So with the discomfort of not having the answer, they might feel the pressure to find the answer because they're like, oh, I need to, I have to. Um, the biological correlation of the ajna is the anterior and posterior pituitary glands. Also, the third eye is connected to this as well. So you can see these are the activations in the ajna center. Yay! Isn't it interesting that we're opening the violet door? We're in the ajna center, and this is like one of the most structured slide decks that we've seen. We're hanging out in the realm of the mind. We're trying to understand things. And in order to understand things, we're going to need information, data. So within the activations of the ajna, the 47 is the fear of futility. Oh, it's just all this effort is not going to even be worth it. Like, why even try? Like, it's just, 24 is ignorance. 4 is chaos. Here we have some fears, right? I need the answer. I want to eliminate the chaos. Let me have understanding. I don't understand. How can I understand? 24 is is trying to prove something, right? So it has to learn. It has to try to find the thing because it gets inspiration from the 61, which is the great mystery, which is about inner truth. And we need to make sure that we're not limiting, right? By saying, all right, I'm going to prove why this person like is out to get me. If we're just focused on that and we have like a or I want to prove that gravity exists. Yeah, let's go logical. I'm going to prove that gravity exists. And so if you're fixated on proving that gravity exists, then you are biased, right? Because you're also not generally you want to prove that gravity doesn't exist. You want to have all possibilities. So you don't want to be ignorant to all the different possibilities. You want to make sure that you're still open and you're returning and you're investigating. You're like, okay, coming back to this again, or like proving that God exists, or proving that there's life after death. Like we also need to look at everything. 11, as I sip my drink, is this fear of darkness. Sometimes the 11 can be, and it's a Sagittarius energy, it can be really love and light, airy fairy. Oh, here we go. And then it avoids or is afraid of the darkness. And in that, we're already obscuring the field of what we can receive. Like some of the the new age wave of love and light. And it was like this spiritual bypassing where they weren't looking at their shadows or the darkness. It was a way to bypass that. We want to integrate the lightness and the dark, both of them. We want the full range, the full spectrum. Same thing with the right and left hemispheres. 43 is rejection, the fear of rejection. They have insights, they have epiphanies, and sometimes the fear here is that their knowing will be rejected. Sharing that knowing and then it's rejected. And that's where the 43 can get caught up on needing to be right. I had to be right because if I'm not right, then I get rejected, right? And then the 17 is like challenge. Challenge comes also from the 18, like someone challenging your opinions, someone judging your opinions. And all of these come from the shadow, right? Here's futility that comes from the oppression. Here's the ignorance that comes from the addiction. Here's the chaos that comes from the intolerance. Here's the darkness that comes from the obscurity, the rejection that comes from the deafness, the challenge that comes from challenging opinions. So those are all the anxieties, the fears that come out of the Ajna. And because this is an awareness center, there's anxieties that come from this. We're receiving, we're filtering. We have awareness of these things. Okay, so there's excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. Hopefully it doesn't become one of those tickle parties where you just keep coughing your lungs out. I am not a match for that. We shall see. So in the three mental processes, we've got sight. So logic and visual processing is about understanding a pattern and projecting it into the future. Abstract visual processing refers to the need to make sense of what happened in the past. So now that we are looking at circuitry, collective circuitry has understanding and sensing, or logic and abstract. So when we're looking at understanding, that has to do with logic. So you can see that we have the 63, the 4, the 17, and the 62. These ones want to understand a pattern. So the 4 and the 17 are here about understanding the pattern and projecting it in the future. Oh, here's a pattern. If we keep going forward with this pattern, what will happen? Because they're here to try to correct and refine and be like, all right, I sense this pattern. And is this beneficial moving forward? And they're future oriented. So it's like, where are we going with this? The abstract visual processing. So we're talking, these are big words. Like, let me simplify these. When we're talking about the 47 and the 11, they care about the past. They're trying to make sense of the past. So these are trying to make sense of the future. These are trying to make sense of the past. So if you have any of these activations, that's where you are leaning into. So I actually have 4 gates in my undefined ajna. I have the 4, I have the 47, the 17, and the 11. So I'm both looking at the past and the future. I have a lot of a pull to look at the past, to make sense of the past, because when I know that I'm making sense of the past, it creates this lightness where I'm moving into the future with more lightness and aligning with that being a match. I want to let go of, integrate, find the wisdom so that I can move forward into the future. And then the third mental process is acoustic, is sound. So here, this is about sight. Interesting, right? Because we're talking about visioning and visioning. People that have the 24 and the 43 are processing acoustically. They're hearing things. People with the 43 are tuning into the radio stations. Anyone with the 43? I think I saw, Lisa, you were on here. You have the 43 and the 23. These people are clairaudient. They're hearing the mental chatter. They're hearing themselves. They're tuning into the frequencies, right? So if anybody, yes, Lisa has the 43.1. Yeah, exactly. So tuning into the thoughts, tuning into the wave of thoughts. These ones are tuning into visuals, visions. Okay. Let's see. All right. Here's the anterior posterior pituitary gland. Let's not get into this. Bye. Defined ajna. I already told you guys that you have a fixed way of thinking. It thinks in a reliable and trustworthy way because they have the same process, their specific way of processing information. And it's usually linear and step by step. That's how they think about things. It can look like each person has a different way of thinking. And I'm not saying it has to be simple. It can be chaotic, but they're going to follow this way of thinking each time. Because I want you to think about like a skier on a slope and it's fresh powder. And they're the first ones on the slope. And as they're going down, They are paving the way, right? And so they can go in whatever direction they want. It's just fresh powder. And then their skis are not being, pulled towards any of those really deep ruts because they're the first ones. But as you keep going down the slope, it'll eventually create a fixed pattern. Or if somebody goes into a forest, nobody's gone into that forest, and they're creating a path, and they keep walking down that path, they're going to create a path with their tracks. And eventually there won't be anything that's growing on the path because they are consistently going through that. I like that analogy better, especially me looking at the forest right there. Mm. So you're going to keep going down that path because it's easy, because it's clear, because you've been there before. Right? So you do that. And that's what the defined ajna does. Now, with someone with an undefined ajna, they can sense that path you go down and they can start thinking like you because they are almost like, oh, look at this path. Walking down that path. Or you start on the path and you're talking to them, you're sharing things with them, they're tuning into your path and they're just like orienting with it and then following you down the path. Now, when you're not around, they might not find that path again. They might not find that thread of thought again. But when you're around, when they're connected to you, they're following that path. You're connecting in that way. So it follows the same pattern and isn't influenced too much by other people. And here, it's here to form opinions and a unique point of view. And they're consistent in their point of view, in their opinions. If you have the ajna to the throat, you're here to speak your mind and you are going to enjoy research. I mean, if you have first lines, you're going to enjoy research anyways. If you have an undefined ajna, hello, openness. You don't have a fixed way of thinking, conceptualizing, investigating, and there's no defined way of handling that thought process. It can be logical, it can be inspirational, or abstract. It can be any of them. And you're not designed to be consistent. You can be empty or overflowing with ideas, concepts, details, and opinions. And because it's not consistent, that light bulb is not always on. The mind is not always on. And you can't force it. You're going to put a lot of pressure on yourself to make things happen, to not make things happen, but to find the answer, to think about the thing, to have that answer. And if it's not there, it's not there. But these people do tend to be open-minded and a wonderful processor of mental information because they're not set in their ways. A lot of people that have a defined way of thinking also have a defined way of learning, also have a defined way of processing information. And so it's important to find, to figure out how you like to take in information, how you like to process information, and how you like to disseminate that information. That's the process for defined ajnas. Undefined ajnas, excuse me, are going to be taking information in a diverse ways, right? And mhm, we've got no constant mental processing, and they have moments of mental rest, blankness, and relaxation. I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm gonna go get my lozenge. Okay. I said I was not going to be a match for that coughing fit, but I felt it coming. Even if you want to resist it, it's gonna come if it's gonna come. But anyways, all right, let's actually move on. I want to talk about the archetypes here because I think that could be really beneficial. So again, as you're working with the third eye, as you're working with this Ajna hub, I want you to tune into the archetypes that you have available to you here consistently. Because if you have definition, right? You have an access point. So go ahead and check out. We've got the 47, which is the alchemist, 24, which is the inventor, 4, which is the philosopher, 11, the idealist, 43, the rebel, and 17, the discoverer. Go ahead and pop in the chat. What archetypes do you have defined here? You can put the numbers, you can put the archetypes, whatever you want to put there, but what do you have defined in your ajna? And if you have none of them, just put open. I'm just open. Forty-seven and 11. 4, 11, 17. Open. So Janine, you have no archetypes here. Great. Now, of the ones that you have defined, thank you for sharing, everyone. Of the ones you have defined, go ahead and just take note, be aware as I'm teaching, like this is what you have consistently for yourself. If you have an undefined ajna, you're going to wait for that definition, and then it's like light bulb, and then they start doing their thing. They start coming online. If you have an open ajna, I'd love for you to stay open to the descriptions of each of these, right? And then I want you to feel into which one is pulling you. Which one is pulling you most? All of you. I want all of you to do this. All right, of all these archetypes, which one is really calling me in? Like I'm feeling myself lean into this archetype. And that will be the archetype that you take with you this week as you are working with the Ajna with the third eye. You probably are already getting a feeling into, oh yeah, which one are my eyes darting over to? Oh, my eyes are darting over to that 24. I don't have the 24. I'm going to tune into the 24. Okay. Yay. You can see here too, here's all the connections. And I know some of you said that you have channels. These are all the connections. When we go into the individual archetype, you are going to see the partner as well. So this is the key for the Ajna Hub. And here we have 3 archetypes that move from the throat to the Ajna. So let's get to know the 17, the 11, and the 43. Yeah. See, you guys are already feeling a pull to certain archetypes. That's lovely. So let's unlock the 17 first. This is the Discoverer archetype. Here, remember, it was fear of challenge, so challenging our opinions. This is the gate of following, this is the following in I Ching. It's the gate of opinions, and it moves from opinion to omniscience through the pathway of farsightedness. So here, when we are caught up on having a particular view, a particular opinion about things, we narrow our minds. We narrow our ability to be able to hold more because we've said, no, it's this way. No, this is what it is. No, this is the answer. This is bad. This is good. So we've narrowed things for ourselves. And as we get older, we tend to have a more fixed worldview. We tend to have a more fixed perception of things. And that creates consistency for ourselves. As children, they're very open. They're very open to everything, right? And it's beneficial to have an opinion, to have experiences that shape our opinion, right? Because we're learning, we're growing. But when they obscure things, when they limit us, then we're not getting all of the data because we're not open to it all. We're very narrow-minded. So here we are wanting to open ourselves up to more and to gather opinions first before we form an opinion. I mean, gather perceptions first before we have an opinion. So I want you to think about too, as this relates to Shambhala and to your manifestation of all of that. If you have it has to look like this, it has to be in this way. You're making it very specific. And so there's no wiggle room. And there's also no opportunity for you to come into alignment with maybe what's better for you, because maybe you haven't even imagined it. Maybe you don't even know what's possible. Maybe there's a better path, a better destination. So whenever you're manifesting or whenever you are creating, we want to say this or something better or whatever's more aligned. When you go into whatever's more aligned, it's aligned with what? Aligned with your state of being right now. That might give you an outcome that is less than desirable, right? You might be on a path and a trajectory that's going to bring you towards, I don't know, failure, towards loss, heartbreak, and all those things are okay. It's just we're attracting that because we're learning from those things so that we can then be a match for the thing that we're moving towards, right? We're refining, we're purifying more and more and more. And so sometimes we have to attract those situations so that we can learn from them, grow from them, and then move more and more towards that Shambhala. It's the purification process. It's the process of letting go, right? But if we say, I'm going to be a match for this thing, or better, right? Then life will give us the opportunities to purify, like to let things fall away. So in both instances, we're going to get reflections of, what might be a little bit off center for us, what might be a little bit like, what do I need to let go of, or what do I need to learn before I can be a match for this thing? So here we want to be open to different perspectives so that if there is a better door that wants to open for us, we are available for that. Yeah. Okay. And I've already mentioned that this is part of understanding circuit. So remember, it's looking for patterns. 17 is going to be the one that receives the big picture, the overview, all of the data points. The 62 is going to be the one that refines it, that names it, that communicates it. 17 has the visuals. 17 has the data. And it hands those visuals over to the 62 to be able to name them. So you might have an abstract vision, not an abstract vision, but you might have all the different pieces of what do I want, but to name it as something cohesive and tangible and physical might be a little bit difficult without the 62. 17 and the 62 work really well together to be able to be organizational, to be very structured, to have the pieces, name the thing, create the blueprint for, or the, like as if you're an architect, they're going to make the blueprint of the building, of the house, and they're going to get really specific in that because 62 is also going to focus on the details. So calling in that energy. And that's the discoverer. They're discovering all the possibilities, right? Like when you're looking at houses or you're like let's think about dating. When you're dating people and you're going on a speed date or you have multiple people that are courting you, you're like, "Oh, I really like this aspect of this person and I like this aspect of this other person." And sometimes we're dating because we're also creating that quote unquote perfect partner for us. We're like, "Oh, that aspect. Oh, we're really good at talking about these topics. Like they're very logical. I like connecting to them with their mind. But this person's really funny, so I like someone that has a sense of humor. Or this person is a traveler, or this person is da da da." So those reflections, those people are opening you up to, what you identify with, what you enjoy in a partner, in life. Do you have similar values? Sometimes we have to open ourselves up to partners, to people that we're dating that we would never in a million years even partner ourselves with, because sometimes they offer us something that we didn't know that we wanted or didn't want. Like we're getting the data. And if you think about being with and dating people as a logical process that the 17 and the 62 would do, right? You're trying to see what patterns you enjoy that will move you forward in the future with someone like, oh, I want to have children, or oh, I want to travel the world. And if your priority is to travel the world, then you're not going to partner with somebody who wants to have kids right now. Their priority is, I want to have a family right now. And maybe there's a world where both of those are possible, but maybe like that's not something that you want. So you're gonna have to find someone that wants to take you to Tuscany or wants to go travel to Bangladesh or wherever you guys want to go together. That's kind of criteria for you. Like if you're wanting to have a lived experience and you're wanting to do it with someone else, right? Then you're trying to find a partner that's a match for that. Because you're wanting to be a match for these travel experiences. And then you want a partner that also shares that. Otherwise, there might be compromise happening, especially if one of your big visions is, I want to go here, here, and here. I want to experience these different cultures. I want to expand and grow and la la la, and I want to do this. Now, if you attract a partner that doesn't want that, then you might compromise that big dream, that big vision for the partner if you are a person that tends to do that. And that is your own prerogative too, on if you're sacrificing that. But you have to ask yourself, like, where are the priorities? And what will I compromise and what will I not compromise? And that's part of the manifestation process, right? The universe is going to give you things to sample, to say, I know you said you really want to travel, but do you want a partner more than you want to travel? But do you want this more than you want to travel? And you're just trying to figure out which one and what hierarchy you want to do the things in, because that's, we've got to get clear on that, because that's what it means to be a match, to hold the pose and stay the course. It's like we get these little temptations that test our resolve, that test how much we want things, and we're like, oh, I didn't know I wanted this as much as as I thought. So, right. Anyways, getting different perspectives, getting different opinions. Like you can also do that as you're manifesting your Shambhala. I want you to also realize that if you're going out and seeking opinions from other people, it will definitely cloud and sometimes influence your ability to manifest. So, especially if you're in the beginnings of your manifestation process, when you invite someone in to hear what you're manifesting, if it's brand new, if it's like a little baby little seedling, and someone's giving you their opinion, but it's like, why would you even want that? What is that even about? Maybe you should do this. I think you should spend your energy in this way. They are influencing your ability to manifest. And so if you take on opinions too early, too soon from other people, it could sabotage that vision, that dream. So first and foremost, you have to get clear on what you want. You have to get clear on what you're manifesting. And then when you bring in other people, knowing that you're just collecting opinions and you may or may not take them in, but you're not looking for approval to manifest that thing. You're looking for blind spots. You're looking for what more. You're looking for different things. So that is important to realize in the 17. Oh, and I realized that this session is going to be a little bit longer because we're already over that hour mark. But I'll go through here and I will explain the archetype, but then I want to connect it to your manifestation process, to Shambhala. So the 43 we call the rebel, and this one is the fear of rejection, remember? And inside, we're going to find the energy of breakthrough. This is the gate of insight in human design. We move from deafness to epiphany through the pathway of insight. And so here the dilemma is being right. Like I said before, they want to know, they have a knowing. They're going to be like, oh, I know. When the idea or the epiphany or the thing drops in, it drops in like a lightning bolt. And like, you just know. Like, whoa, answer, whoa, thing. Okay, I know. And because it's individual, it's very connected to your frequency. It's for you. Now, your insight, your epiphany, your aha can inspire other people. But what's coming through is uniquely, individually for you. And as you are receiving these insights, you're passing it along to the 23. If you do not have the 23, which is the translator, it might be difficult to translate your individual knowing in a way, in a simple way that people are going to understand, especially if you want to externalize it, especially if you're going to share it. You want people to be able to pick up that thread and be like, oh, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That feels good. Now, with the 43, remember I told you you're tuning into different frequencies. So, like having the ability to turn your radio station to different radio stations and being able to receive the information or the insight. Now, sometimes you're just going to get insights and epiphany that pop out of the sky and you're like, whoa, okay. But generally, you have an intention, you're thinking about something, you're ruminating on something. And as you're creating space in your mind, something drops in. It's because you became a match for the answer and it just drops in. Lightning hits it because you put that metal lightning rod into the sky and you're like, hey, I'm kind of thinking about this. What's the answer? Bloom comes down, right? And these people are here to have very unique insights, things that haven't come through before as well. Individual circuitry is the pulse of mutation. These thoughts, these insights weren't here before. These answers weren't here before. They're simplifying concepts that nobody simplified before. Well, at least the 23 is. And we are making sense of all of the insights, all of the things that are coming through. All right, here's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And then what does it all mean together? Oh, boom, insight, right? Remember in the beginning when I was like, okay, a frog's coming through, purification. And I felt it go down into my body. And the more and more I was like, oh, right. When we're being a match, we also need to purify or let go of the things that are not a match for the thing that we're creating, right? So I was taking all those data points and I was like, all right, what does this all mean? Boom, it means this. That's also what we get from the four. The 43 and the 23 is individual insight, right? That was an individual insight for me. It could benefit you, it could inspire you, but that was something that was unique for me. I was like, oh, okay, frog, what does that mean? Traveling the breadcrumb trail. So the 43 is also it's also part of the stream of creativity. So this comes as well from this pulse of freshness, creativity, newness, pulsing for expression, for manifestation. Because there's things that we want to create. There's art we want to create in the world. There's things that are moving us, that are inspiring us, and we are here to bring new things into the world. And we also want to be able to translate those new things. Like we want to share them. We want to share the concepts. So the 23 and the 43 are doing that together. It's a knowing that is being externalized, that is being communicated. And oftentimes the 43 says, I don't know how I know, I just know. And you can follow the thread of that knowing and prove that that knowing is right, but we don't want to get into the shadow of needing to be right to validate something, right? And also 43, the shadow of deafness can come from when we're not listening to our own inner guidance, when we're not listening to ourselves. We know we should do this, but we do the complete opposite and we're like, oh, I should have listened to myself. That's the 43. When it says, oh, I should have listened to myself, I knew this would happen, I knew it, and you did it anyways. That's the 43, right? Okay, let's move from the rebel, let's move to the idealist. So now we're going into abstract thinking, abstract visioning. This one works archetypally. You're going to find a resonance with archetypes. You're going to find a resonance with myths, with storytelling. When we are creating Shambhala sometimes comes from a little bit of this myth, a little bit of that myth, a little bit of that archetype, a little bit of that, because it's almost like we're making a soup. And some things are extraordinarily new, extraordinarily fresh, never been done before, but there's always a seed of something else underneath it, right? It comes from somewhere. And if things are neither destroyed nor created, then what's new? Something has it, things generally have a seed from something else. So the 11 is a it's a belief, it's an idea, but it comes from somewhere. And the more we have emotion attached to that belief, that idea, the more solid it becomes. And then it's the story we tell ourselves. So something that I've done in the past that has been really illuminating is I remember on a call, I think we were talking about the 11, but I asked people, I said, do you remember what your favorite movie or book was as a child? And I want you to think about the thing that you watched or read over and over again, or the thing that you really identified with it. You're like, oh my gosh, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like there was just something about finding a secret portal into another world that just totally captivated me. Or what's that one movie where that little boy is reading the Neverland? No, that little boy is reading, and he is it Neverland? No, that's Peter Pan. No, the one where, anyways, I'll have to think about that. Where there's like Atreyu and the flying dog. I don't remember what it's called. But anyways, that's another one that has kind of similar thread. I know you guys know. Yeah, the never ending story. That's the one. So which one are you guys resonating with? I want you to put it in the chat before I explain. Not the ones that I listed, but like what were you super attracted to as a kid? Or even right now, like, oh my gosh, Persephone is just like I'm learning about Persephone or Lilith or Nana or blah blah blah. Like, what is it that you are like a myth or an archetype that you're just like so enthralled with? You're like, oh, I want to learn about this. This is so cool. Is there anything that you guys are Black Moon Lilith? Okay, Black Moon Lilith. Like, what is the mythology of Lilith? What did Lilith have to go through? Did she get kicked out of Eden? What is the correspondence with Adam? Um, the Grand Blue, Emma Peel. I read the Bible cover to cover at 14. There are so many myths, so much richness in the Bible as well. Like it is filled with myths and parables, not myths, well, myths, yeah, and parables and stories. And so each of these have a moral, have a teaching, have a common thread. People are going to be attracted to different myths because they're needing to have resolution. They're needing people to understand the gold underneath them. Wonder Woman, right? We want to think about why do I have an affinity or a draw to this? How is there a parallel in my life? Because if we're identifying with that archetype, with that character, with that myth, it has resonance with us. Our life somehow is also paralleling that myth, or we're trying to become a match for something in that story because it's offering us wisdom, insight. There is a core piece that we're needing to understand. Now, the 11 is about that. It is about going through the hero's journey, the heroine's journey. The 56 is the globetrotter, is the entertainer, is the comedian. It's the one that tells the story of this is what happened, and this is what I believe about what happened. Because it's interesting. You're going to learn so much about a person, about yourself, based on how they retell the story of what happened to them. You can have two people that went through something together. One person will tell that story and they'll have their commentary. And then you'll realize, wow, this is what that person believed about who they are, what they went through, what the outcome was. Da, 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 da. One person can believe it was an utter shit show and it was horrible and they had the worst experience. And the other person can say, that was amazing. It was really hard, but I learned this, this, and this. And da, 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 da. They have a gratitude about that situation. The other person is like resisting it. And they're like, no, it was horrible. What I learned is I don't like that kind of experience. Now, both of them are telling the same story. It's just they had a different perception and experience of what went down. Now, when we're talking about these myths that you guys are bringing in, like Wonder Woman or The Neverending Story or any of these, like there are key things that the main character learned. And you're resonating with a certain aspect of that story because you also want to experience that. There's a wisdom, there's a data, there's something you have forgotten that you're needing to remember in this lifetime. And that story is either reminding you of it or it's giving you this sense of completion, retribution, reconciliation. You're like, wow, that character went through something that is deeply fulfilling, rewarding, emotionally, like invigorating, connecting to me. Like, wow, I just feel the celebration. It's like you are the main character. And sometimes when we identify with it enough, we start to create it in our world because we're being influenced by it. And then we are master creators. We create it in our lives. So if you are studying, if you are in like Lilith land, where are you kicked out of Eden? Right? How and that's this archetype is part of the cross of Eden. There's always this downfall where you feel like you're ripped from Eden and then you're like, wow, how do I get back? Or where is my Eden? Or you feel like I need to remember Eden because I feel like I am a stranger in this land and this doesn't feel right for me, but where is the right place for me? And you're trying to find that again. Or you're trying to reconnect with your, your sexuality, your sensuality, your like sovereignty, empowerment, like whatever it is that the Lilith story represents for you as well. So with what you guys wrote down in the chat, I want you to think about if you want to, if you take time to, I want you to think about what in that story are you really identifying with? And because you're definitely creating that in your life. It may be in a small way, it may be in a huge way. It just depends on how much your soul wants to gift you that experience. And you're a match for that. You're a match because you're resonating with that story, right? And maybe you already played out that story because I did ask you, I said, okay, as a past, as a child, what did you resonate with? Or what are you resonating with now? If it was as a child, you may have already manifested the experience that was in alignment with that story that you read as a child or that movie that you watched as a child, and you manifested it. You're like, well, yep, that was my Beauty and the Beast moment. Yep, okay, that was my never ending story moment. Because you resonated with the experience, and so you manifested it. The more conscious we are of these myths that are playing out, the more we can work through them in a way that's not going to tear down our whole lives, too. If we can learn what needs to be learned underneath it all, we don't have to play it out in the physical, right? It's because it's calling us to experience it that it gets so loud, so loud, so loud, so loud, and then we have to have a physical felt experience of it. If we just get it from the get-go, we don't have to have that big, loud experience. And sometimes we do. Now, when you're being a match for what you want to create, right, you might have to have different micro experiences to bring yourself into alignment with your Eden, with your Shambhala. But you're going to have to meet the dark side, which is the 11. You're going to have to know the shadows in the closet. Or the skeletons in the closet. You're going to have to know and bring your light to those parts because what's in the subconscious is also fueling your manifestations in the reality. So you want to take what is obscure and you want to bring light to it. To be like, oh yeah, I really want to come into alignment with that, but there's these saboteurs under the surface that I'm not even looking at. Right? They're the ones that create that upper limit for yourself that say, no, it's not safe to be a match for that. No, we can't manifest that because I believe it's going to bring X, Y, and Z into my life and I don't want that. Or I'm terrified of being in a relationship. I want a relationship, but I'm terrified of surrendering in that relationship. I want to be in control. So then we're going to, we have to look at these archetypes that are playing out in our subconscious too. They're the ones that are creating and manifesting with us. We're like, wow, why did I manifest this? I wasn't expecting to manifest this. Well, your subconscious is a big player in things. So remember, fear of darkness and the victim of beliefs. How tightly are you identifying with something? And is that obscuring, getting in the way of your ability to manifest other things? Because you believe so deeply, so vehemently that X, Y, and Z that it actually gets in the way of you manifesting that thing. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So then we have the Ajna to the head. We have the 4, the 24, and the 47. So we'll start with the 4, the philosopher. This is about answers. This is about understanding. And this is the gate of formalization. So it's logical and it's here to find, it's a pattern recognizer. It's here to understand. It wants to seek understanding. And so they're going to want answers. Why did this happen? What is this about? They are seeking truth, right? If the 63 is inquiring and asking the questions, the 4 has the answers. So as we're on this path of what's my next step, or why did this happen the way that it happens, or why is this person the way that they are, we can go into understanding. And when we seek understanding, we won't be intolerant of the people, of the experiences, of the things that we're calling into our lives because we are beginning to understand. Oh, I understand why I attracted this because X, Y, and Z. Oh, I apparently needed to learn how to set boundaries, so I attracted this relationship where I was learning how to set boundaries. The 4 is part of the codon ring of union as well. So it is in the realm of relationships. So asking the question of why you attracted the people you attracted or why someone is the way that they are, instead of being intolerant of their behavior, of who they are, of their trespasses, of their transgressions, of the things and the ways that they treated you, going into reaction and going into intolerance, we're trying to seek understanding. What would make somebody be the way that they are? And if you can't inquire with the person, inquiring into what kind of past would they have to have gone through to be who they are now? And giving people passes and giving people grace and saying, wow, you must be hurting because you're hurting other people. Wow, you must have been abused because you are abusing other people. Not giving them a pass where it's like, all right, you can treat me however you want. No, it's just um, allowing for that energy of forgiveness. You can have a reaction to someone and be like, no, that was really shitty behavior. But in every relationship, in every experience we have is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to understand the truth, to understand why we're attracted what we attracted. There's a purpose in it. There's a purpose in the pain. There's a message and there's a meaning in all of it as well. And that's what the 47 does really well, is making sense of the past. The 4 is here to move forward into the future, right? It's logical circuitry. It's orienting towards the truth. It's orienting towards where we're heading. It's inquiring about things because it's trying to move forward as well. But in order to move forward, we also have to have reconciliation with the past. And some of the answers we're getting right now are shaded, jaded, obscured from our past experiences. Let's see if there's anything else. And that's all I'll share for that one. And then we have the inventor. And this one moves from addiction to um, oh my gosh, why is it? I'm blanking. Silence to the pathway of invention. So realization. Again, this is a great one that goes with the 43, right? This is individual circuitry. We're reaching into the great mystery. We're wanting to connect to that mystical side, to that like what why? This asks the question of why. The 24 is trying to answer the question of why. Why did this happen? Addiction is it has us going round and round and round on these events. We're never moving forward because we just keep returning over and over and over and over and over to these experiences, to these events, to these things, to these concepts. Um, and if these concepts are very, very heavily charged and emotionally charged, then sometimes we grab addictions where we are numbing or suppressing because we don't want to feel that thing again because like we don't have resolution, we don't have reconciliation, and so it's like it's just eating away at us. And so we either grab alcohol or grab drugs or grab food because it's like, oh, I can't resolve this pain. I just don't want to feel it anymore. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Oh my gosh, why did this happen? And we don't have answers. We're gonna grab the things that are gonna lighten the load for us, right? The dilemma here is gravity. How much is that instance weighing on us? How much is this instance weighing on us? So we reach for the things to make, and we could overthink. We could keep going down that rabbit hole of why. But it's not lightening. It's actually weighing us down. Now, when we allow ourselves to dip into that silence, to dip into thinking outside of the box, we might have different insights. We might have different answers. But if the 61 wants, like when it asks the why question and it wants it's like, well, I want you to prove that the answer to the why is that that person is crazy. And then they're going to go try to find how that person is not sane, how that person is crazy, how that person is da 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 da. And we're like, yep, see, I proved it. I proved it. That person is crazy. But was that the real answer to the question? Was that the real thing? Is that what you were supposed to learn? That alleviates the pressure by automatically saying, yep, that was my hypothesis. I proved it right. There it is. All done. No more mental pressure. And that's how psychosis works. And that's how like the whole conspiracy theory stuff actually also contributed to people's is because there was a mystery. They wanted it solved. And so they created and I'm not saying conspiracy theories are wrong. No, people are discovering things all the time and the truth is being illuminated. But I'm just saying that sometimes the ache and the fear and all of that comes along with, wow, what? Why would someone even want to do that to children? Why would someone even want to da 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 da? And then they try to create and formulate something that's going to be, I know why. Here's the answer. This is what it is. Because it's trying to prove something right. Now, when you return to a concept over and over again, eventually you could get the answer too. Like when you're working on a formula or working on a hypothesis, you're working on something. If you put enough energy into it and you have enough data points, then eventually you're like, I've proven it. I know the answer. This is why. Right? But it comes from an unbiased position where we are removing ourselves from the situation. We're not making it about ourselves and we're becoming more and more objective. And then this is why. And then this is the answer. But we have to work through and process the emotions enough so that we can become unbiased as we are returning over and over and over to the situation. We're pulling ourselves back from it. And we're saying, okay, let me look at this from a different standpoint. Okay. And then the 47, the 47 is trying to make sense of the past. So it's getting all the mental images and insights and impressions from the 64, and it's trying to make sense of it. It's looking at the past and looking for reconciliation. Now, when we're looking at all of these archetypes here, and we're trying to come into alignment and in congruency with Shambhala, then we're going to have to work through the alchemist, work through that 47 so that we can turn that oppression, transmute it, transfigure it. If you're wanting to move from one reality to the next reality, you're going to be going through a transmutation process. So you're going to have to rectify, resolve, lay things to rest, let go of things, transmute things in order to be a match for the new thing. You're going to keep attracting the same relationships if you're not learning the lessons in them. You're going to keep attracting the same partnerships. You're going to keep attracting the same experiences if you're not learning from it. Because the 42 and the 53 are initiating cycles so that you can learn something from them. The 47 is that last ditch effort to be like, what did I learn from this situation? Let me look at the patterns of the past. Let me look at what I went through and let me try to figure out what did I need to learn from this? Dilemma here is ownership. So can you own the karma that you created, that you generated? We have dharma. What will come to you? What is meant for you will always come to you. Right? We have things that our soul said we will go through this, we will go through this, we will go through this. There are things we can't avoid. We have to go through them. But karma is the energy that is generated after you've gone through the experience. And if you aren't having resolution, that karma is going to bring more experiences because it's like, yeah, you learned X, Y, and Z, but you didn't learn how to set boundaries. So I'm going to bring you another relationship where you're going to have to learn how to set boundaries. Right? And once you learn how to set boundaries, then you don't attract the other relationships. And you can move on to attract a different kind of relationship. And you get more and more and more aligned with the relationship that you are desiring, that you know that you're worthy of, that you want to experience in this lifetime, that your conscious mind wants to experience in this lifetime. Your unconscious has a different story. It's like, oh, yeah, this isn't safe. Or your soul is like, well, I'm going to keep bringing you this relationship because you haven't learned yet. So here's, a different song, but it's going to have the same kind of underlying tones of it. So that's how that one works. Is it's trying to transmute a really shitty situation and figure out, well, what did I learn from this? And how would I do things in the future? Which is like, it's passing that information from the past into the archetypes that want to create in the future. So in order for you to move forward in the future, we definitely need to resolve the past. We definitely need to learn from the past so that we're not making the same mistakes. We can't move forward into the future and create new things if we're going to just make the same mistakes again and again and again. We can do that, but hopefully eventually we learn and then we're coming more and more into that Shambhala frequency. Okay? So that was a lot. That was a lot of teaching. That was the Ajna. And as we were in the third eye, there is a lot of mental energy here. So it is about learning things. It is about thinking about things. But we don't have to stay on the thinking thread, on the conceptualizing thread. We can lean back and allow that thinking to cease and see, what does divine mind want to share with me? What are the abstract impressions that want to come through? You can do that through automatic writing. You can do that through meditation. And then you can take note. Here's what's coming through. Instead of you doing all the conscious work and efforting of trying to figure things out, about trying to like plan, trying to enact, trying to manifest physically. Sometimes we need to go into yin receptivity. The mind generally wants to go into yang. Sometimes we need to go into yin. Be like, what do I need to receive? What do I need to know? What do I need to see? right? And so getting into that is as important as getting into the yang receptive. So leaning back and feeling into and visualizing that. Okay. So and we're gonna wrap up, but before we do that, I want us to get into that yin receptivity as well. So that was a lot of information. Um, I want you to just think about in the beginning which archetype really called to you. And in inviting that archetype, whether it's the alchemist or the inventor or the philosopher or the idealist or the rebel or the discoverer, just inviting them to be present, to act as a guide. Closing our eyes, tuning in, dropping into our hearts, taking a few deep breaths. Allowing any of the mental chatter to fall away and just orienting with stillness. I want you to go inside of your mind and I want you to imagine yourself opening that violet door. And when you step inside of that violet door, it's actually a white room with white walls. There's nothing there. And you can almost hear like that static. You know, when like a radio station doesn't pick up anything, you can hear that static, or on a TV back in the day, there's static. And as you are stepping into that room, I want you to turn around. And if you'd like, you can invite that archetype that you want to co create or partner with you, the one that you were attracted to from the Ajna, and invite that archetype to step through the door with you. And you're going to close the door behind you. And as you're closing the door behind you, you're in the white room with white walls. And even that static, it just comes into silence. And it moves into this silent, pregnant space. If there are thoughts, they're just kind of like floating by or just fall to the ground. And they just don't go anywhere. Because for now, we are just coming into silence and to nothingness. It's just you and maybe the archetype. White room, white walls, no sound. Knowing that whatever comes through in this personal, quiet space inside of you is from you, is rising up, bubbling up from you. So if you get any visuals or impressions now, it's purely your own. Right? That spark of creativity inside of you in your heart, like it is generating visuals. That God spark is generating visuals that are going to help you align with your conscious creator and creating Shambhala. I want you to ask for insights into you creating Shambhala. So if you're creating a relationship or a home or a business or whatever it is that you're wanting to create in this world, I want you to ask for insights that are related towards becoming a match and manifesting that. I'll just take a moment to gather any impressions. Maybe you're seeing things or hearing things. If you invited the archetype in, the archetype is also handing you something to assist you in manifesting or being a match for that Shambhala experience. Take note of what it is they're offering you. So your God spark is offering you impressions, and that archetype is offering you something as well. And here we're just receiving. And as those impressions and thoughts begin to wind down, as the colors begin to fade, as your imagination begins to settle, just orient yourself back with the white room, with the white walls, and the sound of silence. Knowing that if you ever needed more insights or impressions, that you can return to this room inside of yourself whenever you need to. You just thank this space and thank yourself and thank the archetype that accompanied you in there. And if you want a longer experience, you can do so in your aloneness today or whenever you make space for it, because you always have access. Just imagine yourself backing up out of the room, shutting the door, and coming back to our shared space. You can take a moment to write down anything that you received. And as we begin to close out this call, I just wish and pray that your thoughts will become clear, that the visions will be plentiful, that you'll have the answers and the knowing, that all of the perspectives will help you have more clarity on becoming a match of holding the pose and staying the course to manifest your Shambhala here on earth, to become a conscious creator, that you become a conscious envisioner, that you become a conscious seer, that you're not afraid of the dark, that you look at and review, heal, transmute the past, align with the future that you desire, and receive the guidance and support and the insights that you need on your way, on your path to Shambhala, knowing that every day you're one step closer, you're one breath closer, and it is done. It is here. It's just becoming a match and seeing it manifest around you, in front of you, knowing that Shambhala lives inside of you and you're creating it outside of you. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope that your walk with the archetype is fruitful, is plentiful, and that they help you have that clear vision, that brain balance. They help you conceptualize what it is you need to, and that you become the visionary that is envisioning your Shambhala. Thanks for joining me on Facebook. If you guys want to hang back in the Zoom room, we can have a conversation. You can ask questions. We can chat for the next 20 minutes. I'm available. And yeah, thank you for joining me on this journey. And I will see you. I will see you next week at the same time. Thank you all.